Hey everybody, I'm Emily, and today Nature to Body is going to be showcasing the Prima watercolors. So you see here all the products that we're going to use. We have pastels, watercolor pencils, metallic accents, all new products. Right here we have the Pastel Dreams. You can see what they look like on the swabs. They come in these little cases that you get to unwrap. They're small. Here you can see what they look like on the inside. There you go. And that's the case that they all come in when you first get the watercolor bag. Open the other one. And there you go. So that was the Pastel Dreams kit. And next we're going to have the Paintables. These are just little pieces of paper. They come with designs on them. They're watercolor friendly. You can color with any type of medium on them. Here we have the metallic accents. These are watercolors, but they're very light and glittery, so they're called accents for a reason. You want to use them on top of another watercolor. Here's the watercolor pencils. This is the spring and fall kit. These are really easy to use. And lastly, we have the Color a la Cremes. These are pastels. They're water friendly, so they act almost in the same way that the watercolor pencils do. Now, as you can see, I already started coloring on the Paintables. I started the flower. I used the metallic accents, and here the Pastel Dream kit, and we're going to be starting on the same side that I had already begun on. You want to use a wet wash for this since we want to make it all really light. You go over water first on the area that you want to paint, and then choose your color and just dab it on. The more water you use in a certain area, the lighter it will be. So in areas that you think there should be a shadow, that's where you should use less water and more paint. These are the colors that I'm going to be using on the bird. They're from the kit that I showed earlier. This is a really pretty color, Chrisman. We might use that later. And then the second one, Citrus. This is another one that I just opened. It's really bright. So if you're going to use it, you might need to water it down first. Back to the bird. Just gonna speed up, color it in. I used pink. You can use whatever color you want. Like I said, make sure the areas that there would be a shadow are darker than areas that there'd be a lot of light. I added a little yellow to the wings so that it could stand out against the rest of the body. And then this bird, its head is actually a different color than the rest of its body, so I'm using brown and yellow so that it stands out, and then just brown again for its feet. And as you can see here, it got too dark, too much water, so I just dabbed it down with a washcloth, and it cleared right up, and it looks perfect now. So next we're going to just color in the little flower that we missed at the top. You want to use the colors that you used on the other sunflowers below it. a flower to match the one at the bottom is actually surrounding the top of the house. You can see I zoomed in. So you want to make that the exact same color as you did the flower below so that it's symmetrical, so that it matches. And once you're done with that, you want to take a little bit of the green. I use the metallics because they're not very dark. Like I said, they're just accents to color in that portion. I went ahead and just started coloring the house. I did wet wash like I used with the rest. It's brown and yellow to make it old and rustic. This whole, what I wanted the look for this paint to be was rustic. So by just highlighting the areas that might seem older or more worn down on the house, you can achieve that look. You want to go ahead and do the rest of the house just like you did before. Now for this part, I want to show the difference between the bottom of the house and the top of the house so that you know that this, I guess you would call it, this piece of wood, the roof on the bottom, it can stand out more. You can also see Manuela on the side. She came in and she's going to start painting her piece. She is going to show just how clear the metallic paint can be so that you can still use it pretty darkly and still see the little accents of the drawn on artwork or writing behind on the paintable. Now back on mine, I once again wanted to make the house look more worn down and rustic, so there's splotches of just dirt on the house, makes it look a little rusty. Now I started on the bottom, and this piece, it looks very detailed in the drawing, but you don't need to put extreme detail in when you're painting it. It just needs to look like the top of the house. So go over with a lot of wet wash, and then I took brown and a little bit of yellow paint for the darker spots and just patted it down like you can see here. Just color in the spots that you think you want on your house to be darker. If you mess up, it's okay, just go over it with water or dab it down. You can make it as light as you want, but the only thing you don't want to do is leave a space completely empty with no paint on it. Like you see at the top of the door here, I am using darker paint so that it looks like a shadow, which would have been cast down from the top of the house just because of the roof. Now I want to add a little bit of detail to the background, but not enough to cover up the writing that was already on there when you bought the paintable. So I'm going to take this water pen, and it's a pen, it acts like a brush, just like a watercolor brush would. And I'm going to spread out the paint. You can't see it very well right now, but almost to make it look like there's a spider web hanging in the corner of the page. And you can't do this right or wrong. It's just whatever design you want in the corner, that's how it's going to end up looking. And for the first part to color it in, I'm going to take one of the Fall Collections darkest gray watercolor pencil and just kind of scribble in. You can't mess this up because it's all going to be rubbed together in the end when we use more water, like you can see right now. Spread it out. If you need to add any more detail, all you need to do is drag the water like this. And as you can see already, the water that had paints in it, you can actually, as you tilt your page, it moves from side to side, and that's what we want to accomplish with this piece. So I'm actually going to take the gray metallic paint, mix it in at the top, and as you add more water to it, it gets darker and it's able to move more, and as you move your page, it will sink into the little lines that you drew down your paper. which is a really nice accent for this piece. You can do it on both sides. All you need to do to make your little lines longer is add more water to the bottom of it. If you aren't happy with how dark one piece is, all you need to do is tilt your page and the water will go right back up to the top and you can start again. And on the side, Manuela is going to be using the pastel colors for some of her piece, so you can see just how well that works with the water when you want to end up spreading it around. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing I did on the top to the bottom. And there you go. Just as an accent, this is the last thing we're gonna be doing art-wise, drawing-wise. You're gonna take a waterproof black marker or pen, and you're going to draw where you want to accent on your picture, or where the paint wasn't dark enough, where you wanted to add a shadow, anything you wanted to emphasize. Just go ahead and trace that. I went around places where the paint got too dark and covered up some of the detail from the paintable, and just traced over that again, so that just all the little things in the paint stood out. That's what that should end up looking like. You can see the metallic paint at the top dried. When you turn it from side to side, you can really see just how glittery and pretty this looks. Now what we want to do is we want to accent this page with other little cutouts, paper, flowers. So as you can see, Manuela on the side, she had a flower pin, stickers. She's gonna put those on her piece. She's gonna put them down just the side of the vase, because one thing you don't want to do is to spread out your accents too much. Your page will look too busy, and that's not what you want. So you want to keep all of your accents together on the page. Now what I'm doing is I took some string. I'm gonna cut a bow. I tied it, I'm just going to cut the edges off. There you go. And I'm actually going to just take it and I'm going to stick it on the top of the little bird cage. And what you had seen Manuela do before, she was spraying one of the little flowers so that she could add dye to it and change the color. Like I said, you're just going to glue that on, and you're going to wait a minute for it to dry. And while I do that, I'm going to take these other pieces I have here and use them. Now like I said, you don't want to spread stuff out too much, so I'm going to keep them all on the bottom of the paper. I'm actually going to have them overlap. And I decided to put the flower by the sunflower just to keep consistency. And you're going to glue these down. Just like that. And you want to use a little bit more glue on the flower than you did on the paper, because it is heavier. It will come off easily. And that's the flower that Manuela did. What she did, it was the same flower that I was using, but she wet it down and she took some sprayable dye and she just sprayed it on there, crumpled up the flower, and that was the end result. So now what I'm doing is I'm just going to take the bird cage that we made earlier and tape it onto the top of the paper. And this is further away from the other additions, but it's pretty aesthetically pleasing. It looks fine, so you should be able to do that. Looking back on your project, if you think it looks too empty, you can add little accents. Make sure to keep it with the other ones. What I did was I just took a smaller flower and I'm going to put it right next to the bigger one that we glued earlier. There you go, looks good. And now you can see the flowers that Manuela dyed and put on her piece. They look really good on the side of that paper. You can really use any color for those dyes that you want. And that's the final project. Thank you all for watching.